What's up, guys? Thank you for watching Lost Day Syndrome. I will be your host, Matthew Brown, and today I'm going to be talking about backyard composting and things that are in your own backyard that you can use for, the ingredients to put into your compost. And we have a lot of stuff in our own backyard that we use for our own compost. Still working on how to be more of a perfectionist about it because, well, I'm still learning about it. That's one thing I need to say at the beginning. I'm not a pro. If you think I am, no. This is a documentary, or this channel is really to document, hopefully, me becoming a master gardener. So I'm living and learning and showing my mistakes, and I'm willing to share my mistakes. But there's some things I do know what I'm talking about, and those are some of the things I also want to share. Now, so what in your own backyard can you use for composting? Well, one of the most important things you can start doing is to prepare for your compost is, well, right now, I'm taking you for a walk right now, but what we have an abundance of, taking you over here, is, well, we just coming out of the fall season, and please excuse the mess. That's one thing you might see also in watching this video today. It's a little embarrassing, I will admit. A lot of this trash that we got going on. It's just been, pretty hectic during the winter and really extremely windy and too cold to come outside and clean it up. So I will intend eventually cleaning up this mess. So again, please excuse the mess. Anyways, back to our original scheduled program. Now, these leaves right here, you can see, these leaves are all perfect. This is exactly what you need for your compost. Look at all these leaves. I mean, endless. Especially if you have a property like this, if you're fortunate to have a lot of land and a lot of trees, and you're going to have a lot of leaves like this. And if you don't, well, you can always, hopefully you might have maybe some neighbors, or you can maybe drive around certain places and neighborhoods of people who have maybe a lot of leaves. In case you don't have a lot, you can maybe ask, because like, hey, can I rake your leaves for free? And I'm using it for my own compost, gardening stuff. And maybe if you have some nice people, they say, hey, yeah, go ahead, take all my leaves. And this is exactly what you need. And this is like, you want to collect as much as possible, because during as we get to the summer, there'll still be leaves, but they won't be nearly as much. And you want to get these leaves. These are good leaves to use for compost. And so maybe, I haven't decided what I'm going to do. Is there's Shere Khan. Watch out, Shere Khan. Is you could maybe just bag up all these leaves and put them like in a storage area and use them for your compost whenever you need to kind of balance it out. This is one of our compost bins. This is something that you can get by online, and it's pretty good. It's really easy. It's hard to open with one hand, as you can see, but so right now I haven't had time. Honestly, I've been kind of neglecting this thing during the winter, and but we're trying to get back into the flow with things, especially now it's gardening season. But see, leaves. Collect as many leaves as possible. Another substitution for leaves is like newspapers, like cardboard, like toilet paper rolls, that kind of type of material. There needs to be a balance. There's like different minerals of, like, basically they call it green and brown, and leaves will be considered the brown that you are needing to balance it out. Like I said, leaves are and the same thing as newspapers. And man, I need to work out. I am getting out of shape. I'm running out of breath already just walking around. But that's basically, so the reason why you want to try and use this time to collect as much brown leaves as possible is because, like I said earlier, well, some of these leaves are eventually going to blow away. But if you have a nice yard where if you have a lot of grass like this, like so, right now, this green, or the grass is starting to turn green, starting to get ready for the spring. And so we need to, when the grass gets really tall, to try to cut your grass. Then you want to collect your grass. And shit, man, I thought a wasp was about to get me. Anyways, back on subject. So watch out, Shukran. I know that wasp is crazy. So this grass is going to grow like crazy during the spring. I mean, we got to cut this grass bi-weekly, which is good because you're going to need all that grass as much as possible to put in your compost. And this green, this is, obviously the grass is going to be considered the green. Like earlier I was saying, there's two different type of minerals. Your green and brown. You want to kind of have a good balance between your compost. And well, so like I said, during the spring and summer, the grass is going to be growing like crazy. So you're going to want to cut the grass and collect all that grass. Sometimes, honestly, is that we have so much, grass that just like you see all these leaves, we got so much. Some of it, I'm not obviously going to be able to use all of it. It's a shame. I wish I could, because, I mean, you can't just, you don't have to have just one compost. I mean, if you have, depending on your space, you can have one, you can have two, you can have as many as you need. And also, whenever you're deciding to put your compost, try to put it as somewhere as near and as close as possible wherever your garden's at, or wherever you do a lot of your gardening. That way you don't have to waste a lot of movement and time to going back and forth. So I'm just talking about backyard composting, talking about what I'm going to be doing, just sharing, like I said, what what you could do. All other stuff you can do is as far as compost is old vegetables. Vegetables that didn't get eaten, some fruits. Maybe do a little bit of research. From my understanding, there might be some fruits that might not be good for composting. But I heard you can do some fruits. Now, this is one compost bin. This is an old one. This was the first one we were going to try and do a compost in, and it was good. But the thing is sometimes you can see that that the square area could be a little tall. Look how tall it is. I'm like, I don't know if you can see me, but I mean, I'm trying to get as much as a picture on here. I'm 6'3", okay? And so if I were to try and stir this compost, it's going to have to arch your back quite a bit. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to, hurt yourself any more than you have to. Ideally, the kind of compost, bin you want to make is, I'm going to kind of walk over here and show you. Trying to walk fast because I don't want to do any editing, just trying to make this one clean shot here, but just walking as fast as I can. But what you could do is something similar to this. See these woods right here, or here's one, maybe a perfect example of an ideal compost bin. Something like similar like this. Maybe not that size and the way it's shaped, but maybe a little bit more square, not rectangle. And I don't know, I guess it doesn't, I don't know, maybe the shape doesn't matter so much, but I don't know, I just see a lot of, pictures that I see a compost bin, so more shaped like this, like these raised beds, but, you kind of want a little bit more of a, of a steep, cover, I guess, or foundation. That way you could put more, look at all that, a lot of, compost. And then, so when you're doing your compost and you're putting your leaves, you're putting your grass, putting your leftover veggies in here, or newspapers, what you do is after you put it in there, you stir it. I think I've heard maybe at least twice a week, maybe even 3 times, but at least twice. Come out here and stir your compost, and that's gonna be good to help build up the ecosystem naturally. And so I guess man, I don't know, I guess that's kind of all I want to say. Is just, well, we're getting ready to do our own compost, and like I said, I've learned things and to do and not to do. I like, as far as like I said, the way that originally we did our compost bin, it was a good idea. We could still maybe use it for something. You want to try and use everything, use all your sources as possible. Nothing goes to waste. But like I said, I just want to show you what I think would be the perfect ideal size of your compost. And like I said, you can always do these kind right here if you don't feel like building one, or you don't want to even do that. There's two different ways, of doing it. This is another option. I don't know if I said it before. I did a video of this once, one compost video, and there was one time I was talking about this one right here, and I came out here to check on it. I was going to stir it, and when I opened it, it smelled really bad. I mean, it's literally smelled like shit, and to the point, like, I actually thought someone put shit in this thing. And so when I did my research, I realized, well, I put way too much, grass clippings in it. I didn't put enough, brown, like carbon, or, like brown leaves or cardboard. You can look, other stuff that you can look up to see if it's what is it considered. So, but when you have like a really smelly compost, and you can obviously, that might also, another indication is probably could be wet. So what you want to do is add, like your leaves here. That's why you want to have it collected and stored. So, when the season's around, during the summer, and you're like, hey, it'd be nice if it had a lot of leaves to throw in my compost to help balance it out. Well, this is why you take the time now to try and either bag these leaves or store these leaves, so you can just, go to your little, your stash and, help balance it out, instead of having to always use, newspapers or toilet paper rolls, and other stuff that typically costs money. But leaves are free. I mean, they're from the trees, or like I said, maybe go to a neighbor and some neighborhood that does have leaves and just ask, like, hey, I'll rake your leaves for free. Who wouldn't want that? Sometimes people charge people to do that, and you can be like, hey, I'll do that for free. Also, another thing you can do is, in case you have a bunch of logs or something, or wood, because wood is also a good compost material, here's one thing I want to show you. See this log right here? If this actually could be used for compost, you would need a wood chipper, and you can use this as I believe it could be obviously considered your brown. But one thing you have to also keep an eye on, though, is if you're going to use this type of wood for your compost, make sure it's not molded. You see right there? This is it's molded. You can kind of feel these type of woods. You can kind of tell that's really molded. So if it's molded, don't use it. Make sure it's kind of fresh. Look how easy that broke. I mean, I barely even kicked it. So this would not be good. This is not something that you would use for compost. But if this was really fresh tree knocked down, and I had a wood chipper, heck yeah, man, I definitely would use it. So, like I said, be careful what you put in there. And also another thing I'll say is, during the spring or summer, when you have some leaves, make sure if you're going to put leaves in there, like green leaves, make sure that those leaves are not infected or anything. And that, like, if it's green and it's got a little bit of brown on it, well, don't use it. Do not use it. It's infected. It's got I don't know if you want to label it's got a disease or anything, but it will not be healthy for your compost. So those are just, a few things that I looked up and did some research on. And again, I'm just sharing my own, things that I'm learning in the process. And I know more now than I did before when I first started this compost, or learning composting. Composting is very important if you want to be self-sufficient and also maximize your garden potential. It's used, what is it for? I keep saying compost. Well, it's an organic matter that's supposed to be like have like rich nutrients to help your, the fertility in your soil, improves your soil. So, if you don't have the best soil to work with, well, if you have a great compost, I've heard some people call it, the black gold. And the reason why is because, that is going to be a key ingredient. Soil is where it's at if you want a healthy garden. And, if you have a rich compost, then, you're halfway there if you got the great, the soil to work with. So it's important. It sounds boring. Compost sounds, boring or just not exciting as far as the fun part of gardening. I know, but it is. If we can master that part, then it's going to be a beautiful garden. We're going to have beautiful results, and that's, I think, the ultimate goal, what we want. So, but anyways, I think that's all I got. I want to share that little tidbit of information, talking about what I'm preparing to do for this year's garden, and hoping to improve from last year's composting. And as long as we improve, right? As long as we get better from year to year, that's all we're looking at. So anyways, I think that's all I got for you. I want to appreciate you for watching this channel, and if you have anything to add to this, of course, I mean, drop some knowledge on me. Comment down below, and if you're new, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Later.